right, what's up everybody? Trust you all are doing well. We'll do a quick audio check. So if you guys can hear me and if we're streaming in 1080p, just go ahead and give a thumbs up in the chat. If not, I'll have to just rework a few things. But thanks so much for joining us. All right, everyone, we'll get started in just a minute. We're currently standing outside the main valet at 432 Park. This is one of the most exclusive buildings in New York City. It's also very, very unique in terms of its architectural integrity. This was developed by Harry Macalo, Macalo Properties. Let me see if I can zoom on here. Give me a second. I think that's as good as we'll get. Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome back to Walks in Wall Street. Today is Wednesday, August 7th, 2024. We're standing right outside 432 Park Avenue, in between Madison and Park. We're actually a few steps away from my office here. Now, it's been quite the hectic week so far on Wall Street. I think the biggest thing to note is that all of the major equity indices are still below their respective 200-day moving averages. So even though we saw that, major blow off in the VIX, the CBOE volatility index, I think we're still going to stay in this correction territory, quite possibly leading up until the election. Now, we didn't have a live stream last night. I was very busy. I was out late. I was out very late at a dinner that I wasn't expecting to go to, but things happen. Now, we have a little bit more for the market to take into consideration here. Now, as you know, we don't really get into the thick of things as it relates to politics, but during an election year, it does definitely matter. So we do have a new VP pick for the Democratic Party, who will be running alongside current Vice President Kamala Harris. Now, I don't know too much about the guy, but I will say this. I think by and large and overall, my view in terms of the economy and in terms of fiscal policy between the two candidates, or really I should say between the two political parties, is pretty much the same. I think regardless of who is elected, you'll see, government deficits and government spending really balloon here in a major way and continue. And, whether you like it or not, that is technically market positive, right? Because the fiscal side of the house does play a major role, not only into liquidity, but also major infrastructure projects. I think I'm going to have to open up the umbrella here. Give me a second. So I stepped out of the office for 5 seconds, and I looked at my weather app, and we're supposed to get this crazy rainstorm that's going to move through here, and it's going to last about an hour, and then it's going to move on its way out. So I'm glad that I brought the umbrella. In any event, those are really the main things to watch. Now, I posted on Twitter or on X, the X platform. If you guys aren't following me there and you want to follow along with all of my market thoughts, I really post there throughout the day. As I've said before, I have this theory. I have this interesting theory. For anyone who's familiar with Dow theory, as well as Wyckoff theory, Richard Wyckoff, one of the main components of the Dow theory is to look at the Dow transports, right, the Dow Transportation Index. And we won't really go super far into it because I've written about it many times. But in a modern world, in a modern day, I've actually swapped the Dow transports out and put semiconductors in. So the moral of the story is, back in the day, when the Dow transports would make a new 52-week high, that would essentially corroborate a bullish trend of the market because, you know, the Dow transports, big transportation, big industry, you could really gauge a lot for the market. I think now in modern times, particularly as it relates to the United States, really being a service-based economy, a tech-based economy, if you don't have semiconductors in gear, okay, and if you want to look at the semiconductor indice, you could just go on TradingView, your Bloomberg terminal, MarketSmith, and just type in the ticker symbol SOXX. That is pretty much the semiconductor index. And right now, the semiconductor index is not in gear. We are in correction territory. And rightfully so, because we've had one of the biggest bull runs. We'll wait for the FDNY to go by. Hopefully everyone's all right. We've had really one of the biggest bull runs in history that's really been propelled and powered by semiconductor companies, such as NVIDIA, I'm sure we're all aware, AMD, Broadcom. Well, I was about to say Intel, not Intel. That company is a failing company. And ticker symbol SMCI, which is getting hammered. So I think we're in a little bit of a cyclicality here, or risk off for semis, and that's really going to weigh on the market going into Q3, leading into the election. So with that being said, let me go ahead and say hello to everyone in the chat. Once again, I apologize for not doing a broadcast last night. I was very, very busy. So I see Alan. What's going on? Thanks for joining us. I see Daniel says, hey Tom, so long, doing better each day. Very good. Daniel from Buenos Aires, Argentina. I'm so glad that you're doing better, my friend, after that major surgery. So thank God. And very, very, very happy to see you too. Wishing you all the best in the recovery. I see William is here, Tatted T, Jeff Baker, Trey Kaka, what's up? Photos from around New York, Sunshine After Rain, Shannon, good to see everybody. NYC, Lost, Not Yet Found, Hang with Mark Mom, Professor Dario, welcome. DM, we're currently on the corner of East 57th Street and 5th Avenue. This is New York City's Billionaires Row, or the start thereof. And it's seemingly busy tonight. Paul McNeely, RJ, Alex77, what's going on? Just as a quick reminder, as we're just kicking off the start of the stream, I did send out our free investing newsletter on Thursday. And this was a very, very important report. I think it's probably one of the most important reports of the year. So if you have not received our free investor letter, just check your email, and if you want to sign up, we send it out every other Thursday right as the market closes. Just scan the QR code on your screen and punch in your email, and that'll take you to our Substack. We talked about a lot. We did a breakdown on monetary policy and how potentially the market is perceiving the Federal Reserve to have made a big policy error. So interesting stuff. Additionally, did anyone see Ken Fisher on Neil Cavuto's show? I think it was Fox Business. Now, I saw the clip on Twitter, or on X, the X platform. I would highly recommend everyone to take a look at that. Let me open up the umbrella again. It's like on and off frame. That was a really, really great interview. Neil Cavuto and the current CEO of Fisher Investments, Ken Fisher. Now, does anyone remember us? Oftentimes I'll talk about one of my favorite books of all time on the market, Common Stocks and Uncommon Profits. Anybody remember? Sometimes I recommend that book, which is a fantastic book, by the way. That's one of the greatest books ever written on the market. Well, that is Ken Fisher's dad, Phil Fisher, the founder of Fisher Investments. So if you're interested in the financial markets and you're looking for a good book, that's one of the greatest books ever written on the markets. It's called Common Stocks and Uncommon Profits by Phil Fisher. And Ken Fisher now runs Fisher Investments. Hold on one second. Looks like it's going to be windy tonight. But yeah, if you want to receive all of our equity research, you can just scan the QR code on your screen and punch in your email. Out and about, what's going on? New England Crypto said you saw it. It was a really, really good, interview. Very, very good. We'll quickly do a lap around the Apple Store, and then let's head downtown tonight. Lena Sandoval, what's up? Now today in Manhattan, it was actually cold. It felt like an October day. It was cloudy all day, it was rainy all day, but it was cold. It was like 58 degrees, or not 50, it was about 68 degrees. Whipping winds, it was raining, and it's kind of chilly out right now. I actually probably should have worn some sort of a light jacket. Patrick D, what's up? Anna? Yeah, I mean, pretty much before you know it, we're going to be doing our holiday walks here, which is wild to think about. Here's the main Apple store right outside the GM building. Evan Stark says it was the same in Brooklyn today. Yeah, it was. I was on the Upper West Side of Manhattan for a short time today, and it was quite cold for sure. Brad says, Tom, I saw your tweet but never found time to get back to watch the interview. Always appreciate when you forward those. Yeah, I think it was really good. And again, not to sound like a broken record, but there's very, very few people when they make an appearance on television that I'll kind of drop everything and watch. There's a few, so if you want to jot them down. Really, anytime Paul Tudor Jones is on CNBC or Bloomberg, I'll make sure I tune in. He's probably the number one. Number two would have to be Stan Druckenmiller, or Stanley Druckenmiller. And number three is probably Ken Fisher, current CEO of Fisher Investments. And, well, I don't want to give the whole interview away, but he talked about a lot of the things that we've been talking about over the course, I should say, of the last, maybe since Thursday, right? Since we started to have this crazy volatility. So I think you'd enjoy it as we walk past the Sherry Netherland Hotel here. Fahim says, evening, Tom. Way minor in story in light of semis and yuan. But what's the deal with Starbucks slumping sales? Well, I think that they've probably gotten a little bit ahead of themselves with the price hikes. And it's not really only Starbucks. I mean, we've been seeing this in the earnings report. There's going to come a time where consumers, it comes into a little bit of an inflection point where they can't stomach the price hikes anymore. So same store sales have been going down. I think more broadly in the United States, it's also probably an experience thing. Now I can't speak for everywhere, right? But particularly here in New York City, in major cities, the experience that you get in the stores had been decreasing, right? I would say broadly, we won't go into it because I don't want to set off a firestorm in the chat, but it's really quality of life issues. And you've even started to see this with the unionization effort for a lot of the Starbucks employees. One of their main complaints is that, I mean, not me, I'm not saying this, it's some of the Starbucks employees that are quite literally saying it's a danger in the workplace, where you have people going into the bathrooms, using them for nefarious activities and drugs and things like that. So I believe it's a culmination of those factors, right? I'm sure we all know some Starbucks locations that are hotspots like that. But I do also agree that they went way too overboard with the price increases. And you're starting to see prices actually come down. And the CEO recognizes that. He admitted that on the earnings call. And you're seeing the same thing really across the board on what I would call like QSR restaurants. McDonald's had similar messaging or verbiage in their earnings report. And I think you'll see prices come down. Prices have actually come down at Starbucks. I think it's a twofold thing in my opinion. I'd love to know what you guys think. But I think number one, quality of life, the quality of the product and the experience has gone down. And number two, the prices have gotten way too high, way out of hand. Hey, John Sorry, what's up? Anthony, it's good to see you from England, appreciate it. Roberts is, any thoughts on Black Rifle Coffee Company? Well, I don't really know anything about the company, right, in terms of its financials. I do know that they're publicly traded. I believe that they went public via SPAC, right, via Special Purpose Acquisition Company. I don't really know anything. I don't follow the stock. I don't know anything about the sales, the revenue, the earnings. So that's really kind of about it that I can comment on it, but I do know that they're publicly traded. We're now on the Upper East Side of Manhattan. Cape Cod Sarah says home prices are coming down in Cape Cod. It is still wildly expensive, but many price cuts on properties. I believe it. You're seeing the same thing here in New York, and particularly you're seeing the same thing. I mean, I could only speak for experience in the New York market, obviously, and in the Miami market. And you're just starting to see prices come down. And I think you'll continue to see an acceleration to the downside in prices. And this is something we've been talking about quite literally for a year here. Now, if you're not familiar with the conversation, I think there's some important context. So if you want to kind of follow along with us, if you type !CPI in the chat, okay? !CPI in the chat, the Nightbot is going to bring you to the Bureau of Labor Statistics with their 12-month rolling average, a little bit of an infographic that's customizable to each individualized category of CPI. Now, when you get to the page, what I want you to do is deselect everything except shelter. Okay, except shelter costs. And what you'll notice is shelter has been coming down month over month consecutively, right, on a year-over-year basis and a month-over-month basis. And then I want you to put back on the headline number. And what you'll notice is that headline CPI has collapsed well before shelter. And that's really because, as we know, shelter is a lagged indicator. Asset prices generally tend to correct in order of liquidity. So like equities, right? Stocks can be repriced pretty much in a matter of days based upon interest rates. But real estate, homes, commercial real estate, it's less liquid. There's not a lot of liquidity in the market. So it takes longer for those prices to come down and correct. And the good news, right, depending on who you talk to, right, depending on who you talk to, this is good news. But I believe, it is of my view, that you're going to continue to see this downward trend in the price of single family homes, condos. Obviously, the real estate market is very, very niche specific to where you are, but broad-based and generally, you're seeing softening in the market on the price point, and I think you'll continue to see things come down. That is my view. Now, it's interesting, right, because how many times, and this kind of goes along with what I like to call financial sensationalism, as we are here exploring the Upper East Side of Manhattan. I'll say it again, financial sensationalism. So what do I mean by that? Well, how many of you have seen these videos that get millions of views, or these, kind of cringy TikToks and, YouTube shorts of people saying, the economy is so bad, they've destroyed the middle class because nobody can afford to buy a home anymore. I can't afford the monthly payment. I'm going to be a renter forever. Nobody can afford anything. Interest rates are so high. How many of you have seen those? Okay. Now, when prices do start to come down and prices do start to soften, right, the narrative is never, this is, normal market mechanics. Generally speaking, there's an inverse correlation between real estate asset prices and interest rates. So and again, generally speaking, as interest rates go up, that puts a little bit of pressure on the market and valuations come down. And then, it'll be a little bit easier for you to negotiate on the ask price. Prices will come down and then you can get your asset at an attractive valuation. It's never presented like that. It'll always be presented as a 180. It'll say, see, I told everyone the real estate market is crashing. This is going to be another 2008. Everyone's going to lose their homes. This is going to be Armageddon. I told you the crash was coming, when this is just how markets work. And shouldn't those people be celebrating and saying, we can finally buy a home at an attractive valuation? But the messaging, right, and this is why I think a lot of media has conflict of interest, right? Because the hierarchy, I should say, or the incentive structure of media is to drive clicks. Because if you could drive clicks, you could drive more advertising. If you could drive more advertising, you make more money, and it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. So if anything was ever explained like kind of how I explained it, it wouldn't drive emotions, it wouldn't drive sensationalism. But if it's explained like the latter, right, then, that's when everyone gets all crazy. So you'll probably see a lot of that, is my prediction, over the next few. Hey, Triple G is here. Says, hey, Tom in chat. We digest another cyclical day for the market. Patrice 2020, good to see you. Lost not yet found, what's up? All right, let's cross over here because I don't want to follow the garbage truck all the way up. Hey, Thomas Conroy. One of the cool things about the Upper East Side, though, is you can see some really cool views of Midtown Manhattan, like 432 Park, 270 Park, and 1 Vanderbilt. Hey, what's up, the tech guy? We were just kind of talking some real estate here. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see some of those articles come up, because there will be those articles come up, right? It'll always be framed in that way, you know, to kind of drive sensationalism. You never really see like a middle of the road article that kind of actually explains the market mechanics. It's usually just a lot of complaining, what I've noticed, right? On a lot of those videos. It's like, this is terrible. Nobody could afford to buy a house. You know, the middle class is being destroyed. BlackRock is buying all of our homes, which actually is, if you want to break down the data on that, that statement is very disingenuous, but just people rock with it because it's, you know, it's popular. If you look at the overall, I should say, float or supply of institutional ownership, I'm talking about like major REITs and things like that, private equity, that own single family homes, and then compare it to single family homes that are owned by mom and pop landlords, the vast majority is actually owned by mom and pop landlords. It's just kind of a fun, cheeky thing to say. Now, here's another kind of myth that a lot of people don't understand, and I think it's important to be explained. How many times have anyone in the audience here or in the chat seen an article or watched a video with something along the lines of, you know, BlackRock and Vanguard, they control all the narrative, they control the world because they own everything. And then they'll show a chart of, you know, this company is 15% owned by BlackRock, or this company, you know, has Vanguard has a 10% stake in this company, or they own most of the S&P 500, so they dictate the narrative and they own everything. How many of you have heard that? And the spin is kind of like BlackRock and Vanguard are these diabolical people sitting behind, you know, a big resolute desk controlling the world. How many people have seen those kind of articles? Now, it is those type of articles I think are a little bit disingenuous, and they prey on people who have no idea really how the financial system works and really the business models of BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street. Yes, it's true that these firms have quite literally trillions in assets under management, right? But they are custodians of the money, right? It's true, yeah, they have, you know, trillions in assets under management, or AUM, but that's all my money, your money, and people's money, right? So if you go and buy, let's say, an ETF, ticker symbol VOO, right? Vanguard is just the medium for which the company owns the ETF, to which normal everyday people like me and you can purchase those securities and invest in the S&P 500 and other companies. So it's not that it's Larry Fink has $1 trillion and he's buying and selling all these specific companies to gain interest. It's the people's money, it's your money. So it's like, it's a cute little cheeky thing to say that, oh my gosh, you see, BlackRock can command and own everything and control the media. They're a custodian of the money, an asset manager, right? So their ETF products, as well as their, you know, mutual fund products, the vast majority, the overwhelming amount of their money is not their money, it's your money, it's my money. So that's kind of, you know, when you see that really being sensationalized, and Fox News does this so bad, because I get it, they're trying to appeal to, like, you know, grassroots middle America, and they're saying, see, it's the big bankers, it's these people that are the reason why life sucks. It's just disingenuous to explain it like that. All right, let's, not to say that they don't have any influence at all, but people quite literally think that BlackRock owns, you know, 20% of this company, 20% of that company.
But the thing is,
Look at how cool this view is, looking down Park Avenue. Now, there's one building that I'm really excited about. There's a lot of interesting new development projects that are going to be coming up. So we have 425 Park, right, which is the temporary headquarters of Citadel. You have 270 Park Avenue with the big boom, the crane coming off the top. But you're also going to have 350 Park Avenue, so 350 Park, which is going to be Ken Griffin's new tower down here. So Ken Griffin and Citadel are going to compete with 270 JP Morgan Chase, and they're going to have a super tall. Now they're also going to build something in Brickell in Miami, Florida, which is going to be quite interesting. All right, we have the light, let's cross. Let's let the guy blast the music go first. Hey, Lance, what's up? Madison 32 AS, cheers. RB, what's up? Ooh, look at this shot. So you have 432 Park, and you have the Four Seasons Hotel, which is now opening again, by the way, which is great. Wow, look at this. I think this is probably my favorite shot of the night. I think Cantor Fitzgerald is in this building right here on East 59th Street. Hey, what's up, Scott? Good to see you. So the building just off to our left, this is Bloomberg. It's Bloomberg's headquarters. It's a very unique building, particularly the roundabout there, kind of the valet portion. Feel the wind picking up too. Hey, Emmanuel, thanks for joining us. Yeah, 499 Park Avenue. This is the Cantor Fitzgerald. Did anybody see the CEO of Cantor Fitzgerald at the 2024 Bitcoin conference in Nashville? I think he gave a really good talk, gave a really good speech. That's another Wall Street firm that owns a pretty healthy position in Bitcoin, just off to our left. It's such a unique shot. If you look into the headlights, you can see the rain coming down a little bit. Hey, Teresa Diaz. Thanks for joining us. Let's cross Park Avenue and see if they opened up the main entrance to the hotel. I'm curious. Dan saying, Tom, is your voice okay? I hope so. Why, does it not sound okay? Maybe it's the mic? Ooh, look at this. I think that's maybe a running joke in the chat. So this is the main entrance to the Four Seasons on Billionaires Row. Hey, what's up, Paul? Just haven't been around in quite some time. Good to see you again. Hope you're having a great week. Likewise. Thanks for joining us. So this is set to open very soon. This is pretty exciting. The Four Seasons, New York City, on 57th Street to Billionaires Row. The music is quite good too. Hey Brad, so Tom, do you agree that if Palantir can get its butt over 30, it's off to the races? I do own others. Palantir isn't my sole obsession. Well, here's the thing. I don't know about off to the races. It's possible. I'd really like to see more explosive earnings growth and sales growth. That's what I'd like to see. But you are right that this is a pretty nice IPO base. So if you guys take a look at the chart, like a daily or a weekly chart of Palantir, it's done a really, really nice job building out the right side of its base, running up that right side and kind of handling here. It's eaten through most of its overhead supply, which is a very, very good thing. Now, I really would, at a name like that, and I know that it's 20% plus earnings, or 20% plus revenue growth, or I think high teens revenue growth. If it was, 30% on both the top and the bottom line, then I think that's explosive enough to really, guess that thing. Also, it is true that the earnings growth on a percentage basis, I think, is over 25% quarter over quarter. Here's the thing. it's not 25% on, $1.50 or $5 or $20 worth of earnings. It's 25% growth on, what is it, 80 cents or maybe even 25 cents. So it's a start, right? It definitely is a start. But like I said, a break over 30, I'd probably go after it. Now, we also have to understand here that the M, right, the letter M in CAN SLIM, as you could say, stands for market. And if the overall general market is in a correction and you're trying to size into individual stocks, well, then maybe it would be a false breakout or something like that. But I would agree. In general, I would agree. I think over 30, I'd probably try to go after it for sure. But I think there needs to be more explosiveness in the earnings power. It's an interesting name for sure. It's also very, very highly watched. There's almost like this echo chamber on social media of people that are obsessed with the company. And that could actually be kind of a good thing. Those tend to be the stocks, or those tend to be the assets that kind of have the most exacerbated moves up or down, where there's so much kind of, I don't really want to use the term animosity, because it's really not animosity. It's just a lot of the people that I know who own Palantir, they have a crazy obsession over it, right? It's kind of like if you talk to somebody who owns Bitcoin, 9 times out of 10, if you talk to a Bitcoiner, they don't shut up about Bitcoin, and they try to convince you to buy it, and they think it's going to save the world. Most of them, right? But those tend to be the assets that make the biggest moves. I mean, think about Tesla, right? That's another really good example. The bulls and the bears are so visceral. If you meet a Tesla bull, they're obsessed with the company. They think Elon Musk is the savior, right? And on the other side, people think Elon Musk is a fraud. They think the company is going to zero. They think Elon's cooking the books, this and that. And I'm not saying either side is right. I'm just presenting the point. But look at the price appreciation on Tesla, since IPO. It's been an explosive name, very volatile name too. But I'm definitely watching it for sure. Here's another very cool view, everybody. You have the Crown Building off to the right, which doubles as the Amman, New York. You have the Steinway Tower, 111 West 57th Street. And then you also have Central Park Tower too.
Midtown.
This is the residential entrance to the Trump Tower. Peter says, I bought Palantir in December of 2022 in the single digits and sold a third to get my cost basis back. Save the clock tower. I know. MD is highly watched and shorted for sure. Mike S says the Cybertruck looks like a dumpster on wheels. That's another good example, right? How many times have we walked, and this is a pretty good conversation on market sentiment and market emotion. How many times, have we passed a Cybertruck walking the streets in New York City, and at least 10 or 20 people are taking photos of the thing, and half the people in the chat says this thing sucks, I hate it, it looks horrible, and then half the people think it's the next best thing, like me. There's really no in between. It's either you love the Cybertruck or you think it's, a dumpster on wheels. I love it. I love the Cybertruck. Yeah, New England Crypto says it's the best marketing, for sure. Any press is good press. And if there's one thing that we know, Elon Musk knows how to get attention. This is the Peninsula Hotel. Let's go to 53rd Street and then make a right. Doc 7 says Elon Musk is the Thomas Edison of our time. I would agree with that. I would agree with that for sure. Now, did anybody see, and I'm not too caught up on this. This is a little bit off topic, but it's also kind of on topic. Now, is anyone here following the story closely of those astronauts that are stuck in space? And I think they've been stuck in space for over a month now. Has anyone been following that story? Now, is SpaceX apparently getting involved in that, potentially going to be able to rescue those astronauts that are stuck in space? Now, I have not been following the story, mainly because it really hasn't been on Twitter and it hasn't been on X. But I was in the office early this morning, early. I was in the office and Fox Business was on and they were covering the story and I'm like, what a terrifying story. Could you imagine being an astronaut and you're like, yeah, we're kind of stuck in outer space because of Boeing and there's really no way to get you home and all of the planned trips to space are being postponed. Isn't that just wild? DM says you've heard about it. Professor Dreo says I'd be scared. Oh my God, man. Well, first of all, I would never go to space. DC322 says the Boeing craft had big problems. Now, do you think, so that's kind of what I'm getting at, right? Not to be, facetious and not to kind of stir the pot, but do you think the reason why it's not being covered so widely is because it's another Boeing mishap? Robert Brunn says the astronauts just won't come back until January. That's crazy. So they say. I know, Paul says sounds like something Hollywood would make a movie about in 10 years. It sounds exactly like a movie. That's exactly what it sounds like.
What's up, man? Love your videos.
Hey, good to see you, man. Thank you so much.
Doing a good job, man.
Thank you, bro. Appreciate it. Have a good night. Thank you, dude. Appreciate it. Emma says so tragic, I can't imagine. No, yeah, I know. God. That guy had a really nice scooter. I was thinking about getting one of those. One of the things, those electric scooters are really good for getting around, but when it does rain, it's like ice skates. I used to skateboard around the city, and when it would rain and you're skateboarding, oh my God, it was like you're on ice skates. So anyway, I was watching the coverage of that, and they were interviewing somebody, and a potential concern could be the loss of bone density. Now, I never knew anything about this, but apparently if you're in space, right, for a longer duration than expected, and you don't have the proper equipment to, do a proper workout or, eat the appropriate food, you can lose a significant amount of your bone density being up there. Now, my question is, if They're like, yeah, okay, they'll be back in February of 2025. Do they just have unlimited supplies up there? I mean, I don't know. I would be terrified, but. Oh my gosh, DC 322 says they were supposed to be up there for only 10 days. Whew. Well, I guess here's how it ties into the markets. I think one of the most, I don't want to say hyped up, maybe most anticipated and most exciting new companies out there that potentially, IPO potential is, hold on one second. Got it. Is SpaceX. I was watching this podcast with Mike Novogratz. For those of you who don't know, Mike Novogratz is the founder of Galaxy Digital. He got his start off, well, he was in the military first. He was in the Marines. He was a Marine helicopter pilot, I think. And then when he got out of the Marines, he got the advice to go work on Wall Street. So he worked for Goldman Sachs, and he was a partner at Goldman Sachs when they IPO'd. So you could imagine the amount of money he made on the IPO. Probably $1 billion, maybe give or take. So after that, he had the big exit. He goes on to work right here, actually, at the one and only Fortress Investments, which is a major hedge fund. He makes a fortune there, and then he breaks off to start Galaxy Digital, which is essentially an onboarding for institutions to get access to Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency markets. Now, Mike Novogratz, if you're involved in that kind of space, the crypto space, you definitely know who he is. But he was doing this interview, and he was talking about free market efficiency and how usually the private sector is so much more efficient, than the government. And he gave an example, and he was talking about SpaceX in terms of the number of launches, right? The number of rockets sent into space via SpaceX and via NASA. Now, I don't remember I can't quote the exact number, but it was just a ridiculous number. The amount of rockets and satellites and things, sent into space by SpaceX versus how many were sent in by NASA. And I think the overarching theme is that if the private sector can do something, you should really let them rock. And maybe we should just kind of turn NASA and morph it in with SpaceX and Blue Origin and make it like a semi-privatized space powerhouse. Wouldn't that be interesting? Now, I'm not advocating for that. We're just kind of talking BS. But could you imagine if the money we spent on NASA was just given to the private sector, given to Blue Origin, given to SpaceX for them to do it? I think we could get somewhere. I think we can get somewhere pretty quickly. No pun intended. Hey, Mike S., what's up? Paul says most astronauts stay about 6 months to a year. Bone density will not be any more of an issue than it already is. Yeah, maybe they're just trying to play up the situation, perhaps. Shrek says, Tom, do you get most of your financial news on X or other sources? I would say generally speaking, X is a really, really good platform. Now, additionally, I'll say this. If we have any younger people, or maybe not even just exclusively younger, but anyone who's involved in business, particularly real estate, the real estate business, and the finance business, right? Hedge funder, banking, private equity, venture capital. The best place to be, in my opinion, is on the X platform. Not LinkedIn, not anything else, is X. There's some really, really prominent players who are active all the time on X, and they'll converse with you. If you post, not degeneracy nonsense, right, and you use it appropriately, if you're in the business world, finance, anything, X is an unbelievable place. An unbelievable place to network, to meet people. It's an awesome, awesome platform. Wow, it's really starting to rain now. This is outside of 53 West 53rd. This is the 53 restaurant. Because I feel as if LinkedIn now has kind of lost its luster. There's a lot of spam, I would say, now on LinkedIn. So a lot of spam and a lot of nonsense. But there's some very, very talented analysts that post in-depth research reports, analysis and research, right, on the X platform. That's how I've networked with a lot of, fund managers and got to work with them and know them, is through direct messaging them on Twitter. Well, when it was Twitter. Let's cross the street so we can get a better look. You'll be able to see the pool, the swimming pool at 53 West 53rd, but if you guys are enjoying the live stream so far tonight, feel free to leave a like on the video and click the subscribe button if you're new. So right here, this is the swimming pool. It's an interesting design, right? But here's what I'll say about it, and we've kind of talked about this before. A lot of the units at 53 West 53rd, the views are obstructed because of you see all those like diagonal support beams. I mean, it looks nice from the outside, but on the inside, it really, really, obstructs the views. It's a nice building, not gonna lie, but all right, let me read this comment. This comment is interesting. Holden Caulfield says most funds for NASA are for private subcontractors. NASA faced a massive budget cut recently and had to lay off a good chunk of essential workers. 530 major cuts someday because of the upcoming wars. Interesting. So you think cuts because of war coming up? I mean, maybe you're right. I don't know too much about it, but that's good info. Very good info. This is the halal guys. looks like they're cutting up the road here. Oh my God. So the sound of those construction workers ripping up the street, I don't know if you could notice it because we have the mic. It's so deafeningly loud that it actually hurts my ears. So I have so much respect. I can't even begin to say how much respect I have for those construction workers. Yeah, they wear, ear protection, they wear earplugs. But they're out doing that stuff every day. In the rain, in the terrible weather, in the wind. I mean, that is a tough, tough job. So, massive respect to construction workers. Now, I also heard that particularly the people that operate like jackhammers and things like that, they can get, I forget the name of the syndrome, but it's like they have tingling in their forearms and their arms forever just because they run those machines. I have a lot of respect for construction workers. It's crazy. I don't think I'm cut out for it. I don't think I could do it. This is UBS to our right, but to the left on the second floor is Mizuho. That's their sales and trading floor. They're right above the Capitol Grill. Professor Dario says perforated eardrum. Now, speaking of that, does anybody remember, and I think the litigation has ceased, I think it's come to a conclusion, but Triple M, or MMM, 3M, ticker symbol is MMM, their stock was getting hammered big time because of the lawsuit with their military contract. I believe, and I don't know all of the details, I believe they had a big contract with the military to provide earplugs. And a lot of the servicemen, men and women, who deployed to Iraq and Afghanistan that used those earplugs, well, apparently they malfunctioned, and it caused irreparable damage to their hearing, and then they got sued. Luke says, I own 3M and they crushed on earnings. I'll have to check it out. I haven't been following the stock really ever since it topped like 2 years ago. This is BNP Paribas. This is the French investment bank. Someone says sand hogs make a ton, over $100 an hour. A lot of construction workers in New York City, particularly union workers, do really, really well. Really, really well. if you look at some of the pay scales, and this is publicly available information, all you got to do is go to the union website. So whichever trade that you're interested in, I would highly suggest doing a trade in a big city like New York or Boston, because a lot of those union laborers do phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. I think Local 13 in the city, Local 13, the Union of Operating Engineers, I think a seniored employee, and again, the pay scale depends on what you're running. So if you're running a big crane, depending on the length of the boom that you're running, also depending on the weather, dictates your hourly rate. Some of them could be making like $175 with the overtime, like $220 an hour. I mean, they do really, really well. Heavy equipment operators, operating engineers. There's a lot of good unions in the city of New York where you can make a fantastic living. But it's hard work. I mean, they bust their ass. And you're up early in the morning. It's also a dangerous job too. This is a pretty cool view looking down into Times Square. Fahim, what's up? Wonder what's going on over here, outside of the Manhattan and Times Square. Now, you know what's another sector that has really fallen out of favor? Because a lot of times when a stock reaches a certain parameter, it gets dropped off my watch list. But then it'll kind of float back into my mind. Because when I'm going through, my charts and I'm going through all these models that I build, I'm like, oh my God, I remember I used to cover that stock. I'm like, whatever the hell happened to it? You know what's one that's getting crushed? Lululemon. Ticker symbol LULU. I used to follow that stock a lot. There's another one. I just lost it. I'll remember it. But Lulu is probably one of the greatest winners from 2018 on. There's a lot of people out tonight. Look at this. There must be some show that got out, like a big Broadway show. Because headed down into Times Square is very busy. Look at all these people. MD says their quality has gone downhill. Is that true? Well, what I also heard is there's another company that is very, very big into the whole yoga thing. I don't know what the name of it is. It OLO? Does anyone know what I'm talking about? There's another trendy. I see every time I'm in Tribeca on like Saturday morning, all the girls are wearing that like yoga attire. That's like OLO.
If I take like,
I've been seeing a lot of issues with these, what do you call them? Those pedicab people? I think we saw a fight with one of those guys 2 days or over the weekend. They're getting aggressive with these tourists. You know, when the tourists say, no, I'm good, I don't want to ride, they get like super aggressive with them. Everything in Miami. Now, is it pronounced ALO or something like that? I don't know how it's pronounced, but I think you guys definitely know what I'm talking about. Maybe they're eating market share, perhaps? Triple G's is Caterpillar, I think, beat on the top and the bottom line. Tom usually comments about Caterpillar. I do. Again, that's one of those stocks I used to cover a lot, but when it falls off the watch list because it either breaks the 200-day or something, it just kind of gets lost in the wind. But, you know, Caterpillar you can use as a leading economic indicator in and of itself. I'll make a mental note of that. Caterpillar, I'll take a look. Also 3M. I think someone mentioned they own 3M and that they posted a good quarter. I'll be sure to check that out. Let me close the umbrella. I think we're good. Aloe. Everything in Miami says my daughter loves the clothes. Now, everything in Miami, being that you have a daughter, what does she prefer, Lululemon or this new company? Or both? And I don't think they're publicly traded. The LT Prod's talking about Celsius. Celsius I've modeled to be a similar growth rate to Monster Energy, or Monster Beverage, I should say. Which, by the way, Monster Beverage was one of the best performing stocks of all time. Of all time. D-Travelers, my daughter likes the new company. Let me pull this up on my second phone. I don't think they're publicly traded, but I feel like, let's see everybody. Now, speaking of publicly traded companies and IPO market, is anyone excited for any new IPOs? Let me see. Starlink, MD, yeah, same. Jackass, SpaceX, I'm excited about that too. There was another company I was going to say. It'll come back to me. Oh. What's that guy honking about? Do we have any medical professionals in the audience? Either nurses, doctors, anybody? Now, I don't follow the stock, but I followed the IPO when it first IPO'd. Oh, let's just get away from the music.
The clock strikes 12 o'clock. All I think about is how there's something in my life I can't live without.
Okay, how many of you have heard of this company? Anyone heard of this company called Figs? Now they're publicly traded. They're not doing, now I don't know, I got to check out the the earnings growth, the sales growth. But I know that the stock has been getting crushed. And from a lot of people that I know, it says that they're overpriced scrubs, like way overpriced scrubs. But I do see a lot of people wearing them. Now this is the stock. So they're very expensive scrubs. Now at IPO'd, keep in mind, during 2021, during the height of the bubble, and it's gotten crushed. It's a $5 stock. So I wish I had my Bloomberg or my MarketSmith. I would show you guys the sales and earnings, but that is a trendy kind of scrubs company. Now, totally kind of unrelated, if you guys want to do some research on like an unbelievable American grassroots success story, it's that company, right? I believe the founder, don't quote me on this, but I think she was a nurse at a hospital and she wasn't happy or wasn't satisfied with the quality of the scrubs. And so she made her own. This lady made her own and would sell them out of the trunk of her car at the hospital she worked at. And now she's a publicly traded company and she's probably worth $100 million. That's an unbelievable story, right? That's like a real true American success story. You work as a nurse, you're not happy with the quality of your scrubs, you make your own, you sell them, the word gets out, you raise some money, you go public, boom, that's the American dream. That's awesome. Let me put the article in the chat for you guys. Again, this isn't a recommendation to buy the company, we're just talking about it. But I'll put the article in the chat, let me see. I love stories like that. I love stories like that. I feel like I just had it saved. I'll have to get it to you guys later. Celebrations, they just opened up a store in Philly. Wow. Well, I can't find it. We'll have to figure it out later. But yeah, check it out. It's an interesting story. Celebrations, Figs is a great product. They're just very expensive. That's what I've heard. If you guys are enjoying the live stream so far tonight, feel free to leave a like on the video and click the subscribe button if you're new. And if you like a lot of the financial talk, talking about companies and the like, we do write a free investing newsletter that we send out every other Thursday, right at 8, well, right as the market closes. So if you want to receive all of our equity research for free, you just scan the QR code on your screen and punch in your email, and you'll receive our Behind the Street newsletter. This is that Times Square church. This church does like huge concerts and things like that on Sundays. It's almost like they got a rock band going on. It's like one of those type of churches. Hey, Cynthia Ava, what's up? Hang with Mark Mom. This is just checked out figs. It's priced right. However, many hospitals provide scrubs with an annual stipend. This is kind of coming back to me now. And you're right. Hang with Mark Mom. There's a lot of companies. I think Cintas may be a company that has like corporate accounts for company clothing or a company, what do they call it, uniforms and the like. I think Cintas is just one company. There's many, many that do it. Now, I don't know the business model of figs. Maybe they're doing this already, but if I could provide any guidance to them, I would start to hire like account executives or essentially like salespeople, corporate salespeople at that company figs to do outbound cold calling and, you know, relationship building with major hospitals, you know, veterinarian offices, and sell corporate packages like corporate accounts, right? I think that's a really, really great way to grow. Yeah, the online sales is great, you know, word of mouth, social media, but what's also good is having a dedicated sales team and trying to sign big, expensive corporate contracts. Right? Or at least sign a contract where you have a minimum spend and you give them a discount. So you do volume. You may take a little bit of hit on the margin, but you do huge volume, right? I think that's what I would do. Now, what's another big corporation that does like those big corporate accounts for uniforms and cleaning products? I think it's called Ecolab or Ecolab. They did really, really well during the pandemic because they not only provide uniforms, they also provide a lot of services to the hospitality sector, like cleaning, soaps, like really harsh chemicals, cleaning products. Maybe the ticker symbol is ECO, I think.
Why don't you just, the hotel is literally, never mind.
Let's head back over to Madison because I do have to go back to the office. And I think it's getting late too, because I keep forgetting we started late. I think we started at like 10:30. But you know what? I'm going to go ahead and do a little bit of research into that company figs, because they probably have ridiculous margins. I mean, they must have to. If they're expensive, if everyone's complaining about the price, they must be killing it. They must have like really, really high gross margins. Cynthia A, this is Tom. You have so much energy. I don't know if I have a lot of energy. I think quite the contrary to maybe popular belief. Walking around a lot doesn't make you tired. It's almost like I feel as if when I end the streams, I'm all gassed up. Like it's hard for me to fall asleep. It's almost as if I drank like 6 cups of coffee. But it's a very interesting company because that industry was ripe for disruption. Right before Figs, there was really no trendy, cool kind of scrubs. We're about to pass Del Frisco's. Hang with Mark Mom. No, I think her story, if you read into her story, I think what it was is she literally started making them herself and selling them out of the trunk of her car. At the hospital, I think. I read an article, this was a long time ago. I remember the IPO specifically. But maybe you're right. You could be right. Here we have it, Del Frisco's. Alexander says, Tom, what's your take on American Express? Their CEO was on record stating that their products, or that their annual fee card products are experiencing tremendous growth due to millennials and Gen Z. I love American Express. Now, American Express is like a brand. I think that's why it's done so well amongst, millennials and Gen Z. They're also very, very heavy on travel. Like if anyone has like an American Express Platinum card, they have a really, really good system. Like if you ever gone in their portal to, book hotels and thing, I think it's called American Express Fine Hotels and Resorts. They have a lot of really good deals, and the branding is very, what should you call it, like high-end. Like they maintain that high-end branding. Now they are a premium product, and a lot of small businesses don't like to accept American Express because the fees are so high. So it's true that American Express is a cash cow. I'm a customer of American Express. But I think they need to kind of walk a fine line here because you're starting to see companies just pull the ripcord on American Express. I think the most recent company to pull the ripcord on Amex was eBay. So I don't think you could even purchase something from eBay if you're using an Amex card. Jamie says, if you're rich, Discover is good. I still have my Discover card when I was I think that was the first true credit card I got, but I didn't get a credit card until late, and that was a big mistake. That was a very, very big mistake. Now, I grew up like super, super frugal with my money, you know, saving every penny. I was so against debt. But that actually, not the saving money part, the saving money part was great. I thank my younger self for doing that. I literally saved and invested every dollar I had, every dollar I made up until the age of 25, literally. It was ridiculous. But my biggest mistake was not establishing credit sooner, because when I wanted to, you know, acquire property and take on debt, the banks really didn't care how much money I had, or really even how much I made a year. They cared about my credit score. So you got to really build that. And I was kind of against it at first because I'm like, I don't need it. I don't want to get myself into trouble. But it is very wise to open up a credit card as young as possible. Just don't be stupid with it. You know, put $50 a month on. Put $50 a month on there and just pay the whole thing off. Kathleen says, discover customer service people are the best. No language barrier, and they are friendly. That is a rarity. You know what company I've been so impressed with not only customer service, but just the quality of the people? Is anyone here a customer of 1-800-CONTACTS? If you're a customer of 1-800-CONTACTS and you ever call them for anything, oh my God, those people are like, it's just like, it's unbelievable. I mean, those people should be making $200,000 a year. They are some of the most personable, highly skilled, and highly trained people. Like, they should quit their jobs and go work for like a tech company in sales, and they would kill it. They would make like $500,000 a year. The 1-800-CONTACTS customer service people. Because I've been in sales for a decade, and I was a director of enterprise sales for a big company, and I would hire people, I would hire salespeople. So I know what a good salesperson is, and I know what's not. Those 1-800-CONTACTS customer service representatives, I don't know what their training process is, but they are some of the most highly skilled salespeople I've ever come across. The 1-800-CONTACTS customer service people. They have such good technique, they have such good skill, and they're very, very good on the phone. The tonality is there. It's just, they're freaking rock stars. They're amazing. Celebrations is, dude, I've had the same thing with their customer service. It was amazing. That's technique. If you want to learn sales, if you want to know rapport building, just call 1-800-CONTACTS. Seriously. You know, I take you to Rockefeller Center, but it is closed for the night. Lisa Davis says, yes, I use 1-800-CONTACTS, and they are great. They're a phenomenal company. Cape Cod Sarah and Chewy. I think Chewy is publicly traded. What's another company, everyone, that sticks out to you? Like, what's a company that you've dealt with in your life where you've had a standout experience, like, wow, this company or this person knows what they're talking about? I think 1-800-CONTACTS is the company that stands out to me the most. The LT Prods, Chewy is down big time. I think they are as well. But do you know the story of how Chewy became a thing? That's another unbelievable American success story, that company. And talk about good customer service. That's the main reason why Chewy became a thing, because everyone was like, there's no way that Chewy is going to be able to compete with Amazon. They're like, there's just absolutely no way that Chewy will be able to compete with Amazon. But they won because of the good customer service. On every single order, when the company first started, they would write individual personalized notes to the customers with their dog, with their dog's name. And they would remember the dog's birthday. They would have photos of the animals. It was just crazy. And they went above and beyond for the customer. And that's why they turned into such a monster success. So with every single order, a member of the staff would write a personalized note to the client, include the dog's or the pet's name, include, photos of them packing it, just a token of appreciation. And they did that to every person. Every person. Like it's a very, very cool story. You could watch a mini documentary series on it on YouTube, the foundings of Chewy. Someone says L.O. Bean. Oh, Mark says, yeah, they sent me a birthday card on my dog's birthday. Very cool. Chewy is CHWY. Yeah, Chewy's not doing good. The stock, anyway. Looks like a 52-week low. Well, everyone, I just checked the time, and I think it's almost midnight. So I think this is a good time to maybe call it a night. But thank you to everyone who came out. I think this was a pretty fun stream. Lots of interesting conversations, so thanks everyone. If you enjoyed it, subscribe to the channel, and if you want to sign up for our free investing newsletter, feel free to scan the QR code on your screen, punch in your email, and we will see you all tomorrow. So Emma, thank you. Mark Francis, D, Joe C, Hang with Mark Mom, Triple G, MD, Jose V, New England Crypto Out and About, Anna, Professor Dario, Nate, thank you so much. Mark, Steve, Paul McNeely, Solo Flyer, Austin City Limits, JTL, Alexander, Durrell, Patrice 2020, D Traveler, JK. Everyone have a good one, and we'll see you tomorrow. Hopefully we'll be in Lower Manhattan if we have the time. Take care.